ready? Singing that Bruno Mars song, 24 karat, 24 karat. I like that song. It's a good dance song. I like to dance. I like to dance. Hello, everybody. This is Celeste, aka Joanna. Probably a few other names as well, as we get to figuring out, you know, who's who and where everybody comes from and who we all are at the soul blueprint level, and all the planets we're stopping in on, trying to help everybody with their ascension and trying to help everybody with their sourceness. There's going to be a lot of things coming forward. Hello, sweetheart. My hair just decided to do whatever it's going to do today. All right, there you go. Whatever you're going to do, I ain't going to stop you. The hair has a mind of its own sometimes, doesn't it? You can spend as much time on your hair as you want, as I figured, because I love playing with my hair. I always have loved playing with my hair since I was a teenager. My parents, if we ever had to go anywhere, this is before I had a license, and everybody was in the car already waiting for me, and they'd say, "Where's Joanna? Where's Joanna?" Doing my hair. I have a strand over here that hasn't been curled yet, and you're gonna wait. My parents always said that I was meant to be some sort of a princess locked away like in a castle somewhere, because I had an attitude of a princess and everybody's gonna wait for me when it comes to my hair and looking pretty. So funny. One Christmas they got me this big huge coat. It was massive. And it was my parents, you know, they were very practical. My parents are very practical, you know, my so-called parents, right? I'm keeping a caveat on everything because I still don't have the truth on anything. So this is my story, so I'll try to make the best of it. My parents were very practical, right? So they wouldn't go out of their way and spend money that they really didn't have on things that they really didn't understand. And of course me, I was very, you know, I wanted nice things. I wanted, you know, when I was as young as I could remember, I always wanted a tiara. That's all I wanted was a tiara. And if every Christmas and every birthday, I was so sorely disappointed because there was never a tiara ever. You know, there was like, you know, dollar store gifts and dollar store hats, you know, as if I was going to wear a dollar store hat. Yeah, it just did not fit in the you know, the family and things that I was ever brought up in, because I knew that I was a princess. And I didn't understand why nobody was giving me a nobody was giving me a tiara. I know I'm a princess. Why is nobody giving me the tiara that is mine? So they gave me this coat one year, and it was a beautiful coat. It was wool, and it had a beautiful cape on it, and it had this beautiful tapestry that was on the collar. And it was a very grand coat, and it was, you know, very modern. And it was probably the nicest thing that I'd had at the time. Yeah, it was a goddess coat. And then when I put it on, you know, my family was like, "Yeah, you're meant to be a princess. You're meant to have things, just we can't afford you." You know, it was the nicest thing I ever had, and I wore that coat for quite a few years. It was wool, and it had this beautiful velvet paisley. It had a very, you know, faint paisley, because I'm not a paisley type of person. You know, it had a very faint paisley velvet crushed collar that came down like this, very low, and it was a black wool coat, and it went all the way down to my it was a 3/4 length, and so it was very beautiful, and it was very warm and cozy. I loved that coat, and it didn't matter anywhere I went, I just felt like a presentation. You know, it was always a presentation. So it was very beautiful, but that was the last nice thing I got. They got me some jewelry every now and then, you know, but it was more jewelry that they were interested in. It wasn't necessarily jewelry that I, you know, found. I like beautiful I like beautiful things, as supposedly I'm a Taurus, so I took those energies on. If that's true or not, who knows? And I'm making light of it all. I'm making light of all these unknowns, trying to make peace with it. So I've always loved beautiful things. I love textures, and that's why I love styling. I love interior decorating, playing with textures and playing with the juxtapositions of very you know, very earthy things like stone and woods, and then throwing some glitter and things in there. So I've always been you know, really predominantly attracted to those types of explorations with creativity. So today we're going to talk about, again, we're going to review the importance of imagination and inspiration, because it's everything that we're becoming. It's all that we're kind of harmonizing ourselves into new experiences. We talked about, they just gave me a download just this morning before I got on, so I just wanted to check this. I'm just going to ground. Barely big energies over the last couple of days. Corpus callosum. Just going to check out the corpus callosum for a sec. Can you just refresh that download, please, Spirit, while I'm looking up corpus callosum? Okay. So we're testing. And so the corpus callosum just downloading me about how it helps us understand the environments and sensing into the environments, and why it's going to be really important for those of us that are healers when we're in front of people and we're listening to and we're being a part of the healing process, that we open up within our Christ consciousness, allow source consciousness and Christ consciousness to flow, so that we can establish the space as non-confrontational and as safe, because the body and the senses and the fields begin to sense its environment. And because there's been so much abuse on the planet, there's been so much dysfunction inside the environment and as well as outside the environment. And then there's been additional pressures and additional toxins with other dysfunctions with technology warfare that has been used in the human testing. So this will be a part of our next phase that humanity is going to be awakened to. What kind of testing has been done? Why was it done? They're giving me kind of overall bigger picture. I still have to process it. It doesn't matter how big picture and how much it is going to serve us down the road, these types of human testings. We still have to understand that it's still illegal. It is still illegal to do any type of human testing on any level. But in what has been done, we have to face it and we have to make peace with it and we have to accept it. And acknowledge the different fractions of how it was done. And then we have to come up with the highest case scenario for healing. And a lot of it will be the in argument. We're going to talk about the systems. So just let me get my piece of paper, because I always say this word wrong. That's the immune system, circulatory system, endocrine, nervous system, muscular system, integumentary system. And so the integumentary system, if you wanted to look that up, and I always write down, for me as my little cheat sheets, I always have the systems written next to the chakras. And then when I get when I do get resources for an artist, I'm going to have them do a DNA strand here. This will all be very, very important for those of us that are going to continue in hybridization study, and because every aspect of DNA codon and how much the DNA has been activated, whatever percentage, is going to be pivotal for us as healers and as research beings to come up with research studies, informations, healing processes because every hybrid is going to be so vast and so different as to how it affects each one of the systems, like digestive, and they were telling me that the Cassiopeans were going to assist us with digestive issues, and the Lyrans were going to assist with that because the Lyrans know a lot about herbs. So we're going to be partnering with different beings that will assist us with various hybrids that have digestive problems, and those are the things we can pull on. So again, this is just a very, of course, mock sheet for me, but this is how, for me as a hybrid, for me as a healer, and for me as a conduit, this is how I'm going to have a cheat sheet set up, is I'm going to have the systems and then the chakra systems and then DNA in the middle, and then various notes down here as we're studying and as we're moving deeper into our studies with the galactic federations. Yeah, it's a really hard word to say, and I always get it wrong when I say it. It's INTEGUMENTARY. So if you wanted to type that in the chat, that would be great. Integumentary system. And then we can go through the systems. We'll do it right now. So that was the first one I always put down because I always get it wrong. So I always put integumentary system. These are the systems that are within the multidimensional bodies. And then on top of that, once we get, well, we'll do this today, and then what we're going to do is then mesh the brain, because the brain is the one that's operative of all of the systems. So we'll do the systems today, the clairs, and we'll talk about the chakras. But the systems are very, very key, and it's going to assist us in just being aware of it and allow the systems to hover as we're listening to various healing diagnoses, or if people are coming forward to us for healing, then it's very important to have these systems in the back of our field, so then we can start pulling and allowing the information as you're getting downloads from your teams and your higher self as to what systems are being affected by the various traumas and human testings or toxic environments and so on. Because we're going to look at healing in a different way, and it must be multidimensional, right? So we're not just going to put a band-aid on that one little thing. We're going to look at the whole entire system in and of itself, and we're going to look at the psyche woundings. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you. So that's number one. The second system is called the skeletal system. And of course, we know that that's the bones that we all exist within. And the bones will be affected as we're moving into higher light. They will become lighter, and they will become more light in its constancies, if you will. So they will be coming, it's not going to be that the bones will be weaker, they're just going to be coming more crystalline. So they will not be as dense as the bones that we've had in 3D. So I'm going to go through these systems, and they're going to give me downloads as to what we'll see change when we go from 3D to 5D, and why it's so important that we understand the systems. And then we give our body time to rest and our body time to adjust to the light within our multidimensional systems. And now that we're going through it, we're going to go through it as often as we can, if I get a download, for everybody to become aware of and start looking and moving about their lives as if they are a multidimensional being. And then you can start to tune in as I do. You know, I usually have my brain pictures with me, and if there's something going on in a part of my brain, I'll ask them. Like yesterday, I had it was the parietal lobe. I had some stuff going on in the parietal lobe. So I was asking them about what was going on there. So the second one is skeletal system. The third one is I have no idea what I wrote there. I can't even read my own writing. So we'll put the third one down as the nervous system. And the nervous system is going to be a lot of what we're going to be focusing on, because your nervous system has just really been overworked because we've been in fight or flight. The endocrine system, again, goes with the nervous system. So you can't talk about the nervous system without talking about the endocrine system. And then the circulatory system. And there's going to be a lot of advancements done, and we're going to hopefully see all of our experiences of diabetes be healed. So we're going to talk about the circulatory system. That's going to go through a lot of its own transitions into higher vibrational experiences, into full healing, right? The immune system, of course, the reproductive system. And then the urinary system is going to go through its own changes as well, because we're going to be really releasing a lot of the things that we used to drink and ingest, you know, and finding our way back to water. It is our most important commodity on our planet. Why it's so important for as many light workers as possible to be involved in everyday health of our planet aspects, clean air, clean water, and clean environment, and just sending loving affirmations out to the environment, just like that. Just say, I experience clean water, I experience clean air, I experience loving animals and nature on my planet. And just loving affirmations like that sends those imprints into the collective field. And it does a lot for preparing for, you know, just allowing ourselves to be more mindful, you know, allowing ourselves to, you know that there's going to be many light workers come forward that are, you know, that because the teams are preparing them, they do have much environmental knowledge far beyond what we were ever taught here on Earth for this planet, so that we can heal and clear, you know, a lot of what the damages have been done in our misguidings on how we move about planetary life. Excretory system, that's how we excrete. So again, that's sweating. And the excretory system is what we excrete, you know. So how the system is going to be changing along the lines of are we excreting? We will be excreting in different ways when we reach higher 5D. Digestive system again, so again, they gave me that download. The Cassiopeans and the Lyrans will be assisting us in digestive. For the hybrids and for crystalline children, for indigo children, I know just because of the cases that I've seen and the children that I've seen before me, most often than not, the more hybrid that you are, or indigo crystal, you have more digestive issues than any. So the denser that you are, there's rarely any digestive issues. The higher in crystalline energy you are, or indigo, higher sensitive, because your sensitive bodies are crystalline in essence. They sense the toxins and the minerals and the metals even that are in foods, and it really is hard for them to digest. There's going to be a lot of foods we're going to be transitioning in and out of. Respiratory system, and I did the muscular system, didn't I? Muscular system. So that's, all the muscles that we have in the tissues. So that's the muscular system. And then of course we have the 9 chakras. And the 9 chakras include our basic 7 chakras. And then we have the soul star chakra, which is, it is the Ascension chakra, right? That's the Ascension chakra. That hooks us up to all the highest dimensions, and it hooks us up. It is the download. Hello, beautiful Russia. It is the download from all of our soul's blueprint goes into the soul chakra, and then it's then fed different codes for the rest of your chakras. But again, also your soul's blueprint is also activated at your divine sacred heart, the God seed cell, and that is divinely at the very center of your being. And then it affects the chakras up and the chakras down, because the heart is the central mechanism of your multidimensional bodies and vessels, and how all of you get put together like the cogs in the wheel. So if there's any part of those cogs of the systems that are not working, and as we're seeing here, if there's a part of the emotional body that is wounded because of how it's been operating, a dysfunction environment, toxic environment, harmful environment, doesn't matter. The fields that are around the vessel become infected. They become infected because it's the energy rippling out from the center of the body and the systems. So as healers, and as we begin to look at and work with our sight, right? As we begin to look at our sight, we'll be able to see when the person is standing in front of us and these are their fields operating around them. This is how I see it anyways. If there's anything that I'm drawn to, there'll be a density, and then my eye and my energy will be drawn to that area. And then we go to what systems are involved in it, and what aspects of the brain do we need to rewire to bring all of that into a holistic experience. And then again, your teams and your own guidance, inner guidance, will be guiding you to herbs and tinctures and things like that, and light and color and sound and all of these things that we're becoming more observatory in how it affects us, right? And so in the field, as the being in and of itself, is just, again, why healing is so important, the daily ascension path work. So we're going to go through all of these things as reminders, because we want to talk about these things as this is our new way of life, because it has to be. We can't skate by any longer thinking that we're still old ways of being human, and we have to start stepping into our new vessel, and we have to start stepping into the new space, and which means that we're going to have to take care of it and train ourselves in different ways. We are multidimensional beings. We've always been. We are now focusing and intending and directing and allowing ourselves to be more harmonized in light, more harmonized with spirit. That is the key foundation that I have found in all of my research studies and all of the things that I observe and I reflect upon planet Earth and humanity, is the key issue on why there are so many devastations in all of the things that can and have to be fixed and corrected. Not fixed in a way, but healed. We want to say healed as opposed to fixed, because there were important journeys humanity had to go along to get to that dense level to know that we can manifest healing. And all of these issues are repairable with the reconnection and the realignment with spirit. We have to reintegrate spirit into all that we are and do. It is the reintegrating with spirit of all that we are. And again, it's not going to be found in church and state. It will never, ever be outer. And this is where we've given our power away, because the beliefs that we held about God, the beliefs that we, spirit is God and God is spirit, God is life and life is God. But how we were taught and bred God, to be found in certain things, and it was always very separate from us. And it is, and it can never be. Our blood, our bones, our DNA, our skin, our tissues, our hair, everything that we are is godly. And so we need to start bringing the essence of our spirit, our spirituality, and the spiritual journey that we're all on, and start harmonizing it as one, and make it a more sacred and loving and divine, authentic, beautiful journey. Right? Start really embracing ourselves as, this is a beautiful spiritual journey that not everybody could make. Not everybody could be at this point where we're at right now. There's not a lot of people that made it to this point. Just because it was such a hard journey to take. We had to face a lot of the things that many people, don't have the strength to face. So now that we're at this point, we really have to look at it at a brand new level, because we're on a brand new octave. They're showing me octave of Ascension, a thread, vibrational dimensional thread. And that dimensional thread is going to have different information and different vibrations, because that's what a dimension is. It's vibration and information. And so in that is going to serve the multidimensionality of all that we are as we're rotating in this new octave, right? So sound and color and beauty with the planet, and all of these integrations that have to be done, and just harmonizing yourself and integrating and calling in spirit to everything that you are throughout the day. When you're eating, I call in spirit to assist me in eating and processing the food, to assist me in knowing what works for me and what doesn't work for me. You can do all of these things in everything that you do throughout the day. And it might sound silly to somebody that has been disconnected, but spirit is with you on every level, and spirit is always speaking to you. And there's many studies, and there's many people that have focused on something called body talk, and it's been around for quite some time. But it's still being taught and seen as a separate tool, if you will. And it isn't. It's just all that we are. We're all celestial, dynamic, alien beings that are highly functioning humans now. And so you have to step into that and start calling yourself your high functioning humans, because you want to start allowing that spirit to become more and more and more a part of you in everything that you are. And then allow your body, its way of communicating with you, to bring you those energies, and to bring you those downloads, and to bring you those shifts and changes and those informations or those new wisdoms that you need to alter your life, alter the things that are in your fridge, and alter how you behave, and alter what really truly nourishes your body from the inside out. Because we all know that whatever is on the inside is the outside, right? And why doing a lot of energy work with your healing teams at night is a great foundation for, you have to have that foundation, because again, the being standing within their toroidal field and within their various fields that they have around them, the chakra fields can be 8 to 20 feet. The being standing inside of this, whatever is off center in the wound of the center of the body, the pillar of light runs along the spine, your chakras run along your, I had some other drawings that I've been using for many, many years. But they're in a different place, and I had them, kind of taken from me. So I had to remake all of these drawings just by my hand, and because I haven't had any money for the resources to hire my illustrator. But in time, that's what I'll be doing, and hopefully I'll be getting it on a computer so that we can see it 3 and 4D, right? And I can point things out, and we can have a really great class. But the fields that are in the person, so if there's anything that's operating, and we all know that it starts from belief systems, and the belief systems are the perspectives that you hold, and how you hold those perspectives of, again, your varying levels of consciousness. Who are you in this now moment, with the reflection of all that is being its other mirror for you. So again, the holographic reality, that's consciousness. So we want to start talking every day so that we become really, really comfortable with all of these really higher vibrational experiences of how we're seeing ourselves, what we exist within, and what's going on within us, and having it all come together as this beautiful minutia of beauty and grace and genuine authenticity. That being higher vibrational is just what we've always been. But now we're adding a higher vibrational of education and knowledge, right? We want the light systems and we want the light wisdoms to be a part of our everyday life. Because if you start behaving on it, no matter how small this group is ever on my channel, I don't know why sometimes I'll have 1,400 on one call and then the next call there'll be 30. I don't understand why there's so many differences and variances, but I do know that there's investigations going on, so I'll just leave it to that. And Father said that they're going to be opening up my platform, but because it's been so unsafe for me in the last little while, they've had to have. Father did say that there are some veilings that the Father is putting on, the Celestials are putting on for my safety. But there are obviously the other veils that are being put on by YouTube. Anyways, as these systems are becoming a part of our online experience, our online discussions, we don't have to necessarily go to school for specific studies. These should be things we should be taught right from the get-go. Our chakra systems, our systems of light, the fields that we exist within, how to clear and cleanse the fields as early as possible, so that the children know how to work with light and how to work with spirit at the very earliest of ages. Because what's been missing from humanity is the integration of spirit with everything that we are, and not necessarily looking to God and seeking spirit and seeking that wisdom and intelligence in a book, which is what we've been drawn to, or liturgies, or things that we've had to go to, or all of those things that held certain things for us, and it doesn't. Source is always within us. We always had the essence of source to heal. We've always had Mother, Father, God within us to speak with. We've always had Mother, Father, God that are always with us and listening in our vibratory field. Their access is life, and all life is access with them. So how could they not hear and be with one of us? They're with all of us. That's how we're connected, right? If I'm having a beautiful thought about one of my soulmates, that thought will go through instantly in the field, and they'll have a thought of me as they're working in their garden or something, or they're having dinner, or they'll think about doing something nice, right? Because I'm thinking about them and they're thinking about. That's how the omnipresent field works. As you're sending out beautiful thought processes, you're thinking about the things that are from your heart space, and it ripples out into your fields, and it's sending those energies to the omnipresent. Then those energetic connections are then felt by those people that are telepathically aligning themselves, psychically, all the clairs. So I'm giving you all of these experiences and these words and these higher vibrational experiences of all that we are, so that you can start operating as a higher vibrational being. And understanding in the all, what you exist in, what's going on within you, how you're now moving and functioning as a higher vibrational multidimensional being, and why you get those thoughts out of nowhere, why your soulmate, the one that has been God ordained, why you have so much spiritual interaction with them and vibrational interaction with them before you ever meet them. Like you have a lot of vibrational interaction with your soulmate before you ever meet. And this is why when you do meet, sometimes I know that I will be, I just have to brush it, I don't know why. I know that when I do meet my soulmate, I know that I'm gonna cry, because they're slowly getting me used to giving me visions and his higher self. I speak with his higher self. And I ask his higher self to come forward and talk with me. And his higher self, we're both very intense people. And because our energies are so profound, it's going to be, we're having to slowly get used to each other, to how our energies are going to mix together, because we're both very, very, powerful beings. And so it is very overwhelming in a good way. I'm very happy with it, because, again, it's always felt like I've been half dead, because there's been nobody that could meet me at that level. It's like we're having coffee and we're talking, right? But I've felt that there's been some experiences where my team and his team, because we have to do this with our teams, because, again, our energies together are off the charts. And when I see him and when I feel his energy in my field, they'll take away that veil, and then it's instant heart chakra, and instant I start crying, because there's so much emotion that I have for him, and there's so much starseed and galactic energy that I have with him, and my heart, and it's a soul experience. It's a soul experience. And it has to be, this is, again, just leave it up to your teams. Your teams know what they're doing. Your teams, like my guide said to me, how much of us do you want involved in this first phase? And I said, I want you there all the time, right? Because I can feel that there's energies that will be unique to both of us, and I want it to be done in the most smooth, seamless way, because there's been so much pressure on both of us, all of the vibrational attacks, all of the psychic attacks. We've both had very difficult lives, and so there's a lot of pressure that has come. If with their soulmate, I've said I want it to be as smooth and as carefree as possible, because I need a break, and I want to be with somebody I can enjoy, just loving their energy and just enjoying the energy, and just feeling the ecstatic soulfulness of the energy, right? And that's all that matters to me, is the soul, right? It's having that soul connection. It's like, wow, I finally have somebody I can talk to on a deep level, and you can feel that, that soul nourishment, You know, it's total nourishment at the soul level. And that's why I cried, you know, because it's like, well, I've been missing this soul nourishment. You know, I'm, you know, this at this stage of my journey, but you know, as Source says, everything has its times. But again, you want to be at that level of maturity, and you want to be at that level where you've done enough reflection work so that you're going to appreciate it, and you're not going to play the games that you used to play in the other cycles. Like when his soul and his higher self have those moments where the veils come off, it's like we're enmeshed as one, and the pillars of light are nourishing each other, and it's like your bodies want to be wrapped in each other, and so it's a very intense. They're very intense sexual things, because it's just your energy fields are feeling what has been missing. Your energy fields have sensed like, wow, this is what being connected feels like. That's connection. And it's not something you don't get that once in a lifetime. This is why they have to be, you know, ask for the ones brought by God, because the relationship brought by God, and even if you have to wait a bit longer, it's still going to be worth it. You'll have orgasms before even meeting them, because that's just the connection at that soul level that is multidimensional. You know, it's not just going to be that they're going to have different things that'll inspire you with their discussions. No, it's a multi-dimensional experience, being with the right person. It's so much more complex. You have so much more to gain. You have so much more, you know, to lose. You know, but it's never lost. You'll always learn from it. But it is something that both of you have to be aware that it is a commitment that you're in for the long haul. You can't just pop in and pop out. That doesn't say, though, that you're meant to put up with, you know, abuse. This is why your teams wait for you to have gone through all of those processes where you're moving through the dysfunction and the toxicity. Your teams will prepare each of you so that when you are together, you're both going to be in awareness that, okay, we've had the things that we've learned from, we've both had a little bit of dysfunction and toxicity, but how do we want to move with one another? What are our commitments with one another and our loyalty to one another? And, you know, how are we going to make this an unbreakable foundation? Because each of you will be sent your tests, you know, through your relationship. How are you going to move through those experiences where you're both tested with, you know, people coming in and out of your lives, and how are you going to be tested for the loyalty of the one that is building with you across all dimensions, which is what those soulmates are. That's why it's so intense, because they're assisting you on all dimensions. They're assisting you in ways that no other human on the planet can. And so you have to keep that at your core vibration, because that's what makes it an unbreakable bond, because you don't want to jeopardize that. Because that person, there's no other person on the planet like that person. There just isn't, you know, because I remember when my other, the one from the Pleiades, and I said, if we determined that he wasn't going to take a body, and you know, and the list of the list of potentials for me were getting slimmer and slimmer because of the work that I had done. And I just said, I'm okay being single, and, you know, I'll have the odd date, but make sure that the dates that come for me are the ones that are in alignment of my recommendations, that, you know, there are standards that I have, and I don't want to, I'm not going to mess around in not even an ounce, you know. So I've given Source a list of a couple of backups, because everybody changes, right? And I'm absolutely in honor of that. I don't want to, I've always respected people's wishes, and they can pull out at the last second and choose to go in something different, you know. So that's the souls. This is why it's so important to always be, when it comes to a soulmate, when it comes to love, when it comes to vocation, just work with it with how close are you working with spirit, and how close is your relationship and alignment with spirit. Because you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. You're just meant to create that imagination and inspiration on what makes you happy as a soul. What is your most authentic expression? What are the things that make you most happy authentically and genuinely? And then as long as you're in those genuine juices and those genuine experiences and expressions, Source is going to bring as many of those beings that are going to be a match with you. And of course, all they do is really bring them to you. It's still up to both of you to say, is this going to be a fit or not? And are each of us going to be willing to work on what each of us need? You know, what do I need out of this, you know, relationship, and what do you need out of it? And how willing are we to go there with each other? Because you have to be willing to go away and do the work for a couple of days and then come back and say, I'm ready to make that commitment. because I know this is something that's not going to be offered again. You know, these types of relationships from here on out, from this point of our octave, the relationships that you come into place with are going to be those that will monumentally allow you to grow and to really deepen within yourself with Source. So know that. So the hard part's been done, right? We've learned all the hard lessons of terrible, terrible tragedies of toxicity and abuse. But now we're getting into the phase of, okay, there's new bedding, and the Source is so delighted to bring each and every one of us a lot of soul partners in different ways. And so just have those discussions. You know, I'm looking for a soul partner that, you know, I can just go and do some, you know, maybe a couple of spiritual retreats with, you know, every now and then. You know, so be very open, you know, about what you're looking for. Be very open about, you know, how you want to express yourself and what's most important for you in your expressions. I'm a very touchy person, and I'm a very affectionate person. I need that affection. I need that touch, because it's just how I heal. It's how I have Source move through me. And because I know myself, right? So I know what it means and what it feels like to be loved as a physical being, and to have that physical affection, to have that PDA. You know, those things are important to me. Those things are a must, because it shows that you're a good role model to understand who you are, what your body needs, what your emotions need. All of these various aspects of the multidimensionality of every person is different. And then to have, you know, standards, if you will, and rules of engagement as to, you know, setting your boundaries to say that didn't feel comfortable when that happened. And, you know, how can we make this so that it's respectful for both of us, and I'm feeling as if I'm being honored? Because you don't want those boundaries crossed, because again, these types of relationships from here on out are ordained at the higher levels if you're surrendering to it. If you're surrendering for Mother, Father, God, and your teams to find you and align with you, the highest vibrational beings, for your highest spiritual journey, they'll be off the charts as far as what you're going to learn and grow from each other, how you're going to feel with one another, because they'll be the ones that have been with you for the most galactic and earth to earth timelines. And they're going to bring back a whole onslaught of things that you can help clear with each other, you can help trigger with each other, and that's the purpose. These beings will trigger much in you as you're meant to be that trigger for them, to really clear out the lower residues of that, you know, final 3 to 40 energies and those timelines. And so be very appreciative that person's willing to play that mirror for you. And so these are going to be very, very rich and beautiful times. That the Celestials and Commander Ashtar was preparing us many years ago, that humanity is going to be going into an about face as to what it finds important and what's truly valuable, the intrinsic experiences that we've had as human spirits, and how much more important we're going to be paying attention to relationship and alignment of relationship, and what relationship really means, because it's been completely skewed and imbalanced, and why we've all had all of the human problems and issues that we do. If we don't have a good relationship with our water systems, the Christ consciousness, our waters in the outer will be showing it. If we don't have a relationship with the air that we breathe and the Mother, Father that are in breath and activate spirit and activate alchemy, then that is going to be skewed as well. So everything is connected, and we cannot, from here on out, cannot not see it that way. Everything is connected, everything is interrelated, and as Commander Ashtar said, we're going to see the correlation in all of it. So as the injuries and as whatever is going on within us, and just being aware that doing your daily path work, you get to sort that out. Who am I in this experience? Who am I in this area? What am I in this arena? You know, and then you get to then package it all together and say, when I'm presenting myself, when I'm representing myself for the heavens, I'm a representation of the heavens. This is my full package. It's very authentic. It's very genuine, because I've worked on myself. There's no more pretending, right? I don't have to pretend in this one area anymore, because I've worked through it. And that's the part about being, you know, as opposed from being superficial, is being authentic. Because the superficial just thinks that this is what I need to be accepted. But they're not going in and accepting themselves for the things that they felt as wrong or mistakes or failures. You got to pull that stuff up, you know, that's the juice. And although we call it as icky or errors or failures, it's really not. It's how you become more authentic and saying, yeah, those are absolutely things that I absolutely went through. I can't be who I am right now if I'm not facing and going through that story and accepting it as a part of my story. You know, accepting the moments where I allowed alcohol to be a crutch, when I allowed alcohol to be, you know, that addictive experience that I didn't have control over, you know, how I wanted to be, you know, expressing myself and being received and loved in that expression. And that's why we go to those addictions. That's why we go to those crutches, because the expression, and what I've said right from day one, it's in my books, the expression of who we are as beings of light, as beings of, because we've never known ourselves, but the expression of who we are, and it not being received in kind, or it not being received with love and care, and it not being received with adoration, especially if you're a starseed, especially if you're high functioning, especially if you're highly creative and highly imaginative or highly psychic. All of these things make us special and make us who we are. So if we're not accepted in that expression, it makes us feel because of those projections, it automatically makes us feel less than, and we're not fitting somehow somewhere, because it's that projection energy, the outer and the inner, as the inner as the outer. That's consciousness. So your consciousness work is, as we said all along, but now we're explaining it to you in much finer detail. Higher consciousness is working through every single one of those issues and laying it on the table and looking at it and then feeling it. I want to be authentic and genuine. So how do I have an authentic, genuine discussion? If my soulmate was to come to me tomorrow and have a discussion with me, it would be similar to what I'm saying right now. This is how I really am. I'm not that much different to how I am. Usually when I'm really intense and I'm speaking about things that I'm very passionate about, and I do get very stern, and I do get there's a lot of intensity there. That's because I am a crystal to break through those densities and change that up. And there has to be that equals MC squared, because we have to look at those certain things in different ways. And we can't delay this for 20 years. So there are certain things that need to be looked at yesterday, and we need to flip it upside down and say, here's our resolve right now, and it begins with connection, and we cannot see it any other way. There are these things that have to be dealt with immediately. The waters and the air are immediate. The garbage and dealing with that is immediate. There's many toxins that go into our air just because the overabundance of garbage we have on our planet and the toxins that are released from garbage. And again, once the inner is dealt with, and what's the garbage inside that we're not looking at, and how does it affect in the outer? So again, the daily path work is so, so important. And again, how have you been, right? Based on your old beliefs and perspectives, and how are you now? And make it more authentic and genuine, and keep alchemizing, keep churning. Right? Keep churning those experiences to be more of who you are within, and to express yourself more lovingly and express yourself more authentically, and have that be a goal every day. Have that be a part of your fruition of, who you're becoming, right? You're giving yourself more attrition. I want to bring myself into this. It's your way of making yourself back into yourself again. And you're the only one that's designing it, you and God. And of course, Spirit has always said to me, because there's going to be things that you're not going to understand, like Spirit has said, you've got gifts and talents you haven't even tapped into, that I don't even know about, because all we've ever known is life in 3D, right? But you have to, so what I'm going to explain to you here, we are humans in a human body, human packages. And our DNA is celestial and alien as well as human, right? It's carbon and crystalline, and it comes together in that beautiful helix. Now, what we've explored on our planet thus far, the codons have been operating and they have been activated. It's all divine, it's all perfect. That's why I love talking about the soul's blueprint. The soul's blueprint is equal to how and when and what way your DNA gets activated, along with all of the other gifts within your fields and your multidimensionality, how and when and how it gets activated. It's all within that beautiful, sacred, intricate design of a soul's blueprint. Every human has one. And this is where I said, the more informed and the more aware you are of your own soul's blueprint, you're getting that harmony and relationship with your soul's blueprint, having that with your knowledge and your awakening every day with your intention, direction, and focus. I'm in love with my soul's blueprint. Please show me more, Spirit. I'm so excited. And then you can break it down. What is my soul's blueprint as far as my expression? What's my highest expression? What can that be, right? And Spirit will send you these beautiful little synchronicities and these beautiful little symbols. I had an incredible magical experience 2 days ago, and they said for me not to share it. That was just between me and my guides, and it was magic that just happened out of thin air. And I'd had these things happen before a long time ago, but because I just want to get to this, because for the past 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, everything has been fight or flight. There's been so much in your attention just to get through each day. All of your focus is going through that fight or flight, getting through each day and focusing on alchemy. That's been my focus. That I haven't let up and allowed source to flow through me in a grander way, that magical thing can just appear when it did. So this is what I'm giving you. The more focused you are on solving that problem, or getting through every day, because it's so dark and it's so, for me, that's how I felt. I was overwhelmed darkness because there was human testing, there was just so much bullshit going on. For me to stay and for me to carry a lot of energies that I was carrying, I carry a lot of energies with me, and that's on behalf of others. I'm helping carrying many along with me. It's part of my contract that I do a lot of alchemy, not only for me, but for many, many others. So for me to keep on top of that, it's a minute for minute thing for me. And so if all of your focus is going towards that, how is the inner feeling, so that you can keep alchemizing, that magical stuff that God just comes and just floats in, the systems are not flowing like this because you're not sitting in a relaxed position, and because you're in that fight or flight. Alchemize. Let's just get through this, right? It's like rip off the Band-Aid. Let's just get through this, and sometimes that's how it feels. That's how it's felt for me the past 8 years. There are those dark nights of the soul, and they happen all the time. Dark nights of the soul are not just 1 or 2 things. And there's misunderstanding in the collective. So be very discerning on everybody's ascension path, and everybody's ascension journey is unique. Their temperament and their pacing and how they explain things and how they express things is based on their consciousness. If they're not in fully, again, if depending on how awake you are and how harmonized you are with source, it will depend on your consciousness level. Is it a high consciousness level that they're explaining their ascension journey, or is it a lower consciousness level? It doesn't matter, because it's all valid, it's all equal, it's all very true, it's all very real. But for those that have been on the journey forever, that are here specifically for the awakening and the higher intelligence of humanity, please get your ascension information from your own research and what you're finding out in the books you're reading. Go get books on self-actualization. Get books out on, any books of the Buddhas that the Buddha has written. There's been lots of books that many Buddhas have written. Get those books and familiarize yourself with real, true prophets. Khalil Gibran, he was a philosopher and a prophet. He was a poet. These are ways that you can inspire yourself to higher intellect. Rudolf Steiner, he's part of my soul family. He and I move back and forth on a lot of different timelines because it's higher intelligence and higher intellect. So these are beings of very high energy. And, the Seth, any of the Seth books, if you want to get really great reads and find out more about the intricacies and the depths of the soul, I would suggest anybody that really wants to keep understanding and dive deeply into the soul. If you're choosing counseling or psychology in the future, I would recommend, I don't think down the road, if this was my planet, there would be a rule. You can't really go forward without teaching about the soul, and you can't teach about the soul's healing and psyche healing without reading the Seth material and my material. I'm going to be writing, my 4th book is going to be more on the psyche healing, because that's my specialty. But again, as for a collective in and of itself, I think Jane, she was far ahead of her time. I'm so grateful she did her books, thank God. Cian, Cyanne, I think, she's the one that did she's written those 2 tiny little books, Right Use of Free Will. They're 2 really tiny little books like this, but she's channeled it. I think her name is Cian R-O something. Anyways, you can go get them on Amazon. There's 2 little books like this, Right Use of Free Will, and it's a green one and a blue one. Beautiful channel material. Again, if you're going to be a healer, if you're going to be a teacher, and if you're going to understand consciousness at a deeper level, get those types of books. Be your own advocate of who you want to be. And again, there is not going to be a rule that says, I know Daniel offers a certificate course where you actually get a certificate for healing. And so I'm going to be offering that down the road as well, because you want to go to different masters for different things. It's not going to be like, maybe down the road, some of the universities will offer our classes as certificate classes because we are masters in our teachings. But it's not going to be like, a psychology certificate or a psychology degree. That is just very, very basic. That only touches the surface of what 3D really is, but we're now 5D. So all of those psychological and psychiatric experiences, it's kind of like a foundation, very, lucid and fluid, but it's not the psyche. It's not the soul. It's not multidimensionality. And that's where we have to begin. That's where all the wounding is. And it does touch on, again, if there's something out of balance within the physical, the mental, the emotional, or the spiritual, or the etheric or causal, whatever these fields or energies are, and whatever is spiraling around that now ascension experience, healers and doctors will be able to see, okay, give me a little bit of a rundown about where you're at. And then a good healer, a good teacher, they're going to be pulling out bits and pieces of what that client is saying through authentic discussion and authentic sharing. Again, no client is going to be healed if you're lying and hiding things. Like as we said before, those people that go to doctors and ask them to help them understand why they're experiencing this, this, and this, when they're missing the entire purpose and reason why they're going through this, this, and this, is because they've just spent the last 15 years doing black magic and voodoo on people, and they're wondering why their life is so chaotic and their life is so psychotically upside down. Because there's now backfire now, and you're going through what you've sent people, and you have to understand the energy and how to alchemize it. You've sent all this negative, toxic energy out to people. How are you going to alchemize it? You have to know what you've done to people. You want to know that I am affecting all of creation. So if I'm this irresponsible, I have to be able to feel it. Why? Why am I this irresponsible to be and to spew out this much hate and this much negativity? You have to be able to understand what you're doing to others. If you cannot understand this one golden rule, what I do to all creation matters. It comes back to me. Everything is in a spiral. Everything is in a toroidal. Everything. That's why most of our nature happens in a toroidal, a spiral. The Fibonacci sequence. Everything you do affects all creation. If you cannot understand this one concept, you will never ever move into 5D. You just won't. You just won't. Because it is those that have been doing black magic and voodoo and been doing anything and everything that they want, thinking that they're untouchable and they cannot be touched because their money has been their veil, their lies have been their veil, their churches have been their veil. And what are we seeing now? Now that the omnipresent is so very light, that we're seeing all the little hiccups and all the little densities that are coming across our entire collective, because the light is so rare, the light is so profoundly bathing on what's not working, what is not in order of this light. And it will just come through. The dark pockets are coming through. Churches that are veiling themselves as churches when they're really not. They're satanic, ritualistic places where people are taken from themselves, they're separated from their spirit, and they're played games with, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. Many of the churches, not all churches, of course, because there's billions around the planet, we are going to see, because, again, go back to the higher teaching. Church and state's intentions were not pure of heart. They were not higher aligned. They were not higher order. Therefore, that's then the higher order. If you are not in higher order of your soul's blueprint in whatever you are doing, your 5D vocational alignment sessions will help you. If your intentions for your business, your body, and everything else that is in your life, your house, your friendship circle, your board of directors, whatever it is that you're involved in, if it is not aligned with 5D, it will start breaking and it will start showing you. It has to break. Why? Because it wants to be aligned to higher light. It's breaking for you for a great reason. It's breaking for you for your benevolence. Are you going to align this, whatever this is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your body, whether it's your health, whether it's your mind, whether it's the spirit, whether it's your business, whether it's your home, whatever this is, whatever you are holding must be aligned to 5D. The light will show it to you right then and there. The churches that have been false, the people that have been running them have been false, the governments that have been false, the shadow governments that have been run by shadow corrupt people, the people in the CIA and the FBI and all these places that are supposed to protect and serve, playing their own private agendas, playing their own private, whatever it is they're playing, it will all be seen. And it's not one light worker that's doing it. The light workers are just reading the densities in the field because the field is so light now. You can't hide anything anymore. You simply can't, and you won't. And anybody that thinks they're going to hide, anybody that thinks they're going to tamper with evidence or destroy evidence, God will bring out these evidences somehow, some way. It has to be. We will not move into 5D without resolving these issues. It has to be. Every person must resolve this issue. All that you do and all that you are affects the all. And if you cannot resolve this in your everyday maturity and your everyday alchemizing and your everyday self-love and self-compassion, you will never move into 5D. You just won't. 5D is when we are alchemically, vibrationally, spiritually linked. It is a 3-day process through which we will all be linked at our hearts. This is why the collective at a certain level has to be all at a certain level of consciousness awareness, and we have to be prepared, and we have to do these practices that we're offering, because our hearts will be linked telepathically, our hearts will be linked vibrationally, our hearts will be linked spiritually, because we will be a collective of one. And this is inescapable. This is the ascension process. It's very sacred. And it is done by God, Source Creator, and assisted and supported and enhanced by the systems of light, the galactic federations, and many of the consciousness that are here to celebrate this consciousness of oneness with us. It is a very specific process. It cannot be tampered with. It cannot be delayed. It cannot be ripped out. It cannot be forgotten. It cannot be jumped over. It cannot be faked. If your consciousness through your multidimensional systems, the chakra systems, your body, your brain, that's why you have spirit guides and you have teams that are much higher in a dimension than you are, because they're there to see at what part of the brain's functioning are you able to function in a 5D reality. That's your spirit guide's job. Will this person be able to understand and honor a 5D reality when it comes time for the switch on? And it's a 3-day process. That switch on takes 3 days. Most of us will be in a beautiful consciousness sleep. And we will be harmonizing our multidimensional systems of energy. And that is when God sews us together. Energetically, vibrationally. So that we can each know within each other that each of us are here to serve the all, in the all of the all. In and of spirit. That's why we always say that. In, of, as, spirit. It's a spiritual journey. We cannot move forward without understanding this and knowing this and practicing this and preparing it. We have to be prepared and enhanced. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually. Again, rewiring your beliefs and your perspectives about who you are as a sexual being and what does that mean to you. And then it's all encapsulated in your spirit. Your spirit wants to have this experience with you. Your spirit knows that there is a physical part. Your spirit knows it's a mental part. Your spirit knows it's an emotional part. Your spirit knows all this. You've just been keeping it separate because you thought it was all wrapped up in church and state. It's not. It's not at all. Those are just tools and things we went to kind of navigate through life. You know, there's the mall and there's all those little stores. We went to all the little stores just to check them out, see what's in there, right? Okay, so there's still this spiritual journey we still have to deal with. Who's teaching it? Who's teaching humanity how to navigate ascension? Who's teaching humanity the nuts and the bolts of ascension? Where are the leaders saying, we're going through something that's very profound that most people could never even have imagined us being a part of? Source Creator is allowing us this opportunity. It's a very sacred, very special, that most of the universe will not ever get to go through an ascension in their lifetime, to go through this sacred process. These are things that you will be pulled on as experts in your higher vibrational times and in your celestial times to say, yeah, I was through an earthly ascension. It was the profound experience, and you're going to be pulled on for your expertise. How adaptable are you? How shifting are you of your perspectives and your beliefs? You are going to be a tool of magnificence because you've moved through these processes with honor and respect. It's a very sacred offering that the Father is giving you. That your soul has chosen to be here at this time and connect with those beings that are here to augment it in a beautiful sacred way so that you're not being gifted out of your body because your body cannot handle the light that's going on. That's happened. Then there's the psychosis breaks that we're going to see all over the place because people are not healed. Psychosis breaks will be on the uprise. And that nobody in humanity is prepared for it. Because we're not talking about it. They've absolutely put light intelligence and ascension at a back burner. It's not important to anybody. Okay, so that now we're all, and again, which they prepared us, humanity will be on its own. We're on our own, people. The church and state won't have our backs. They're not going to be there as the staple backbone to prepare us. They have their own private agendas. They have their own shadow agendas. So you have to be discerning. Who are you? What do you exist within? What's going on within you? And how are you going to prepare yourself for ascension? Because the light will continue every day. Are you going to create ascension pathwork and priorities for yourself so that you're setting a higher standard for yourself so that you can keep up with the energies every day and you can be this beautiful monumental experience that your teams and your guides and your ancestors knew that you were going to be the one that was going to break the curses, that was going to break the hexes, and you were going to be there to transcend all of those old systems and old beliefs and old ideologies and old this and old that. Because you can. That's not who you are anymore. You're not segmented from anything. Spirit is everything. Bring spirit into everything. Bring spirit into everything. Know that you're churning and you're going to be this higher vibrational spirited experience, and you are the commander. You are the designer. You and Source with your soul's blueprint. Talk about your soul's blueprint as often as possible. Hello, beautiful. And I'm appreciating the more gentle and more respectful comments in the chat field, so thank you. Okay, so we have a half an hour, so now we're going to talk about clairs, gifts, and open messages, okay? So we talked about the different fields. So at the beginning, so go back, this is why I always say, go back to our last week's videos and listen to them again and make notes. This is what I do. I make notes on things, right? I make notes and I do my own little charts. And most people that are my clients, I say, make sure you have a journal for the things that you're getting downloads for, right? Because you're going to come up with drawings and you're going to come up with things that down the road you're not going to know, like right then and there, you're not going to know why you had that download or that vision, but you're going to know in the next couple of weeks because Spirit's going to get you to get up and talk about something that you are an expert in. And again, because in the higher ether forms, because you come from a multi-dimensional galactic, multiverse galactic like me, I'm on a multiverse system. Spirit has given me that multiverse opportunity. Spirit is one thing about Spirit. Let's make this very clear. Let's make this very clear because most people don't know. I know Spirit inside and out. When I say I talk with Spirit all the time, they are my family. They're here with me. My celestials are here with me. They love nothing better than for you to explore the most infinite potentials of imagination and inspiration that you can think of. But we don't give ourselves that time or that credit or that fun play time for us to sit down and be just crazy, authentic imagination and inspiring. We don't give ourselves that time or credit. Spirit and God, if you said to God, I am so excited, God, I would love to do this, God. And you just said that to God one day, God would say, right on, let's go. That's God. God is like, what are you excited about? Let's do this. And then your teams will come in and your higher self and your spiritual teams will say, okay, God, we've got this plan, we've got that plan. What are you doing here? And God will say, no, I'm going to take a detour with my child. And God will, and then we say, yes, okay. And then everything follows because God is, right? Your teams just back off. Because God says, if God says, okay, let's go on a detour with my child, it's very important that my child experience this with me. We go back to remember what it's like to be a fairy. That's my child's greatest wish. I will bring that to my child. That's God. God is the epitome of excitement and imagination and inspiration. If you say to God, it is, I just want to experience baking the best pie in the world and winning a pie contest. Is this possible, God? And God will say, if that is something that is inspiring to you and you can put your best flavors forward and you can make the best blackberry pie, I will make this happen with you. Step in step, foot in foot, get in the elevator, you're both in on the job. God never leaves you. That's God. God is absolutely 100 in the word excitement. God is in the word joy. God is in the word exploration. God is in the word expression. God is in the word experience. God is in the word imagination, life, and inspiration. God is there. And sometimes your soul blueprint will be put on absolute hold until that one thing is experienced because God knows how much healing it will bring you. And that's why God right now, God's hand is all over everybody in this creational experience on earth. There's very profound things happening because it must be collective stories that must be seen. because we've been missing this whole oneness factor, and how certain people have been treated that are certain leaders on the planet and certain healers on the planet that needed to have been respected haven't been. And the beautiful children that haven't been respected haven't been. And there's been a lot of church and state that have made a lot of money, and the elites that have made a lot of money, and there's been absolute disregard for the Father's plan and how truly threaded we are in all things. We must get this lesson. All that we do affects the all. So if you're not being responsible in your body, thought, mind, word, and deed, then you absolutely know you will be sat down, and you're going to continue to be sat down until you get these universal laws, until you get the human rights laws, and they'll change. We will be adding dark occultism to these laws and systematic abuse, because covert abuse and dark occult abuse and systematic abuse and secret society abuses, these have been the underhanded tool that the corrupt governments and the shadow governments have been using to control humanity. And to keep those of us that are meant to be already forward leaders, they've been keeping us suppressed and not seen or not heard at all, and completely ignored, and as if we're dead. And that's why some of these stories that have been coming out have been, I passed away a long time ago, and that's why I don't have any money. That's why I'm not receiving any money. That's why nobody knows that I'm here. So they do have to have certain veilings on me because supposedly I'm dead. And that's why other people have had their hands in POAs. And that's why other people have had their hands in my work when they don't have anything, they don't have any idea of what I do and why I do it. And what anything means, if anything means, if right today, if they were to go and do a channel. So, you can't fool consciousness. You have to do the work. Consciousness is that pulling out those energies of beliefs and perspectives and working through it and getting reconnected with God. God is all things. And if you are having that intimate conversation with God and say, I really want to experience this, God. I want to feel what real true love feels like. I have never had true real love on this planet. I want to feel what true love feels like in a physical human body. This is my last human timeline. I'm not going to be back in human form again. I want to have the best human life that I can have. And this is where my teams and God have said, we're so sorry about how things have happened, because this was supposed to be my best timeline. And it hasn't been. It's been disappointing beyond all reason. And yes, there's been great soul lessons. I'm still making peace with it, and I'm still accepting it, and I'm still making peace with all those parts. But my life wasn't supposed to look like this. There's been so many people with their hands in my life and their hands in everything. I've been like the honey jar, and everybody's had their fucking hands in it. And I'm left depleted. I'm left, don't want to play anymore. I'm left, okay, I'm out. Bye, see ya. Go find somebody else to fix and heal your planet. I don't got to be here. It's been nothing but abuse. And then the ones you're supposed to go to help you and to protect and serve you is another joke. They don't care. They're being paid. Corrupt judges, corrupt lawyers, corrupt insurance people, corrupt people at the bank. How many checks and balances got missed in my experience? So many checks and balances. There was no checks or balances on any level. They were rerouting my mail. They had their hands hacked in my electronic device. Every abuse of power for privacy and information, those acts were completely abused. The Human Rights Acts, completely abused. Right? The acts of technology, completely abused. There was so many federal crimes that were abused. And these are very serious. It's not like, I told you a little fib or a lie. No, because we're going to go back to what Mother Father said. And this is why the Father has the Father's hand on each and every person that has been involved in my case, because it touches on everything that humanity must look at. This is why my case has been so diverse. And this is why the Father has his hands on every single person that's been involved. And you're not going to escape your karma. You're not going to escape. You're coming forward in judgment. You're the only one that can redeem your soul. And if you don't care, God will take care of it. If you're not going to fight for your life, if you're not going to fight for your soul and where your soul deserves to be, and it's not through ego, you have to bow. You have to surrender your ego, and you have to say, my God, I'm so sorry. I will repent. There's times of repentance, and it doesn't have anything about you guilting yourself or anything. No, you have to see all that you do affects the all. So if you've been doing nothing but hate and suicide and death and suicide and hate and sadism and masochism and hate, sadism and masochism and sadism and masochism, you better bet that the earth is going to come up with some sort of unfolding that will make the energies help churn and help alchemize, as well as God's got his hand on each and every one of you. Because it's not okay that the collective suffers, because groups that are so demonic, that are not healed, that have not been looking after themselves, that have chosen a darker demonic path, there are some that just choose will never go along in ascension. And it is not okay that an ex-husband thinks that nobody is going to touch me or nobody's going to come into my life and nobody's going to benefit from me unless it's him. And he has say over who comes in or out and who's going to have touch on my life. He has no say on it. It's ridiculous. Divorce is divorce. Over is over. There's nothing more for us to say. I don't owe you anything. Divorce is divorce. And I especially don't owe you anything when there's been 50 sacrifices you've been including yourself in on. And then scapegoating me for your crimes. How horrible is that? You have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of healing to do. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to help anybody from Calgary. I just won't. I will not help you. I will not help you feel safe. I will not help you feel whatever you think you're going to help me whatever you think it is you're going to come to me for. You will not take an ounce from me and I will not give you an ounce. You have to sit in your karma. You have to sit and sort out, why did I do hexing? Why did I do spellcast? Why did I take money from her that was not mine to take? You have to know everything that you have done to a person, because I am the voice of the collective people. You're still not getting a lot of why I'm here. I am the golden calf. I am abundance. If you fuck with me, you fuck with the collective's abundance, period, point blank. I've said it over and over, but you don't believe me because that's how arrogant you are. And I'm talking to those that have been on the attack mode. I'm talking about the shadow government. I'm talking about each and every one of those misogynists, masochists, and sadists. If you were to have a channel and a dream with God and God showed you exactly what I'm saying, God would say everything she has said has been true. She is thine word. I don't have to prove anything. Your karma is proving it to you. When you fuck with me and you don't think that I'm the golden calf, what does that do to your abundance? Your abundance will shrivel up and dry up, and so too will your health. I've told you. Well, I keep telling everybody these things, and it's not my fault. Certain people don't want to believe it, so don't believe it. You're going to sit in whatever you're going to sit in. That's your choice. You chose to be ignorant. You chose to attack. You chose to think that sadism and masochism was going to be something that a divine feminine is going to say, boy, that's attractive. Let me go back to you. Are you kidding me? No divine feminine is going to choose abuse. No divine feminine is going to choose situationships. No divine feminine is going to choose being on the back burner while you've got 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 wives and 20 kids. Give me a break, people. Divine masculines need to get healed. Any divine feminine that thinks this is okay and how you're using your life force and how your life force is being abused, you need to sit down and you need to think, is this really right for me? How and who is using your life force and what are they using it for? There was a lot of people that were taking my life force and giving it to other things and other people, and I was left for dead. Literally dead. Literally. I did not go for 17 days without 1 stitch of food. 17 days. 17 days. Go 17 days without food, and I want each and every one of you to take a certain amount of time and be homeless. Lock up your house, just take a backpack, and be homeless for a little while. I want each and every one of you to do this, to see how close you are with God and how you are hearing spirit and what spirit's going to guide you to. This is why each and every one of you will have these spiritual towers to reconnect with source. All that you do affects the other. Practitioners, stop doing your black magic and your voodoo. You don't have any right to touch people's lives. And don't be with any witch or warlock or any coven that tells you to go hurt people, sacrifice people, or lure them into romance parties where they're given drugs, and then you're being sexed up by 20 fucking people at a time, and then you're being given a blackmail tape that if you go and tell anybody, and if you're not going to be a part of their sick-ass cult, then they're going to take you out, and they're going to send the videos all around the internet. They're doing it anyways. They're making money off it off the black web. They're making money off of you, and they're making money off of all the dirty things that they've done. They're just not telling you. It's their secret little mean girls club and mean boys club. And they get you involved in all these satanic, disgusting experiences. And your life force is no longer yours. Your energies are no longer yours because as they're having sex with you, as you're all drugged up, they're doing root work and they're doing sex rituals on you. That are putting implants and attachments in your root chakra and in your sacral chakra. So then you walk around with a little bit of a demon every while. And you start losing your finances, you start losing opportunities, you start losing friends, you start losing people that actually loved you. So everybody in Calgary, you've done these horrible, horrible things. You need to sit in the horrible things that you have done and you need to sort it the fuck out. Because nobody just walks around doing these things and going to all these parties and putting drugs in people's drinks and sacrificing people and sacrificing animals and all of these things. You can't do all of these things and think that you're right up there on the wow, I'm an important scale person. I'm an important clout person. This is the moral compass. It's not the fucking moral compass, people. It isn't. And sometimes you don't like when I say things point blank. I'm genuine, I'm authentic, I'm saying it as it because it needs to. We need to face this. These are things that are ruining people's lives. They're getting HIV and AIDS. They're getting diseases they cannot cure. There is a cure to these diseases, but they're not having any length of consciousness within themselves because there's no self-love. They're not doing the work. There are people being lured into these romance parties. There's being people lured into these bar and party types. And there are people that are set up there to distract you away from being who you are, to distract you from being away from your innocence of who you are with Source Creator. There are people set up to see who are the fittest and who will survive. And if you don't have a good connection with you and God, if your relationship and your harmonization with Spirit isn't there, the only reason why I'm sitting here today, the only reason why I teach what I teach, the only reason why God lifted me is because my harmonization with Spirit was all. It was everything. I would not be here if it weren't for the harmonization with God. And it had nothing to do with church and fucking state. Let me tell you that right now. They did everything in their power to kill me, to take me out, to sabotage me, to make sure that my life was twisted, warped, degraded, depressed, suppressed, inhumaned, deconstructed, demoralized, disingenuous, diseased. Any negative dark ass word and term you can think of, that was their intention. The shadow government was very real, and not one person from the shadow government has made any ounce of what I've asked for correct. I've asked for my original birth documents. I've asked for dual passports. And I want every ounce and every penny returned to me of the pennies and the monies that were spent on trying to take me out. Every full moon, you damn well know there's going to be a sacrifice on me. We just finished having a full moon. It's like gameplay now. Just return all the magic. Just return all the magic. It's like games. It's just like a game now. It's like the human Hunger Games. Literally, this is what it is. The fittest will survive. And if you're not caught up on how you're taking care of yourself, if you're not caught up on working with your Ascension path work, very few people make it out. It's a game. It's a sadistic, masochistic, misogynistic game. And few win. I'm coming forward to awaken the planet in such of the corruptions of the travesties that have absolutely 100% don't need to exist. It's ridiculous. It's abhorrent. It's degrading. It's monumentally monstrous. And it's for one or two reasons. We're not creating light teachings and light wisdoms about how valuable, how important, and how divine we are as sacred, multidimensional beings from all that is Source Creator. We are representations of Mother, Father, God. Who are you? You will never treat me the way that I've been treated, ever. And I'm not going to sit down and I'm not going to get off my pulpit until the whole world knows that we are no longer who we used to be, that we deserve the highest light wisdoms. And when you start taking care of your bodies and your wisdoms and your multidimensionality and your light and who you are as spirit, when you start doing this, dear lighted ones, on a daily, hourly basis, you will never, ever be trafficked. You will never, ever be used. And you will not be just a number of information for the others to use and abuse and take control over. Because that's their intention. Do you want to be led by those that want to control you? Yes or no? We've shown you very blatantly of how people are controlled. And those of us that have very high access to Source Creator, that those of us that are very highly attuned, that are very highly psychic, that are highly telepathic, we are tested the harshest and the most abrasive. Everybody will be tested. Now, if you're not calling in your light and you're not looking after your chakras and you're not clearing out your fields and you're not clearing out and you're honoring who you are and you're working with your bodies just as if you're brushing your teeth every day. Know your light, know your fields, clear your fields, harmonize with spirit every day, work with your guides every day, work with the universal laws every day. And if you're not following do unto others, and if you're not following right use of free will and non-interference, if you're not following these laws, you better bet there's going to be karma come back at you. And that's part of your lesson. You have to sit and see, how many spells did I do on other people? Why did I want that person to never have money? Why did I want that person never to have success? Why did I never want that person to have love? Why did I always make that person's life hell? Because you thought if they were sitting in hell, then that would make you feel better. These are the intentions and the sadistic things that were done in my life. Because how dare I have a good life? How dare I be successful? How dare I be somebody in creation? because they were looking at the mirrored effect. Well, if this is who I am and I'm successful making something of myself, what does that say about you? But that's not how you go about ascension. You go about ascension by going within every day and doing the ascension path work. Where are you? It has nothing to do with anybody else. This is why competition will fall by the wayside. Competition is lack. Competition is you against everybody else. Competition is separatism. There's no competition in 5D, dear lighted ones. The sooner you release competition, the better. Competition is saying you're not enough. Competition is saying I'm separate. Competition is saying we're different. Yes, you're meant to be, and next. So why don't you deal with it? Why don't you make peace with it and get over it? Get on with it. You're meant to be different. You're not going to read energy the same way. Thank God for that. That's why you can go to really great channels like Daniel. Daniel and I don't read energy the same way. He's a trans channeler. He goes into his channels and he does it, and he's a pure trans channeler just like Daryl Anka. I'm not that. I'm not a trans channeler. Never been a trans channeler. I just speak with God. That's what I do. Some people use music, some people use energy, some people use sound. Daniel is a sound vibrational alignment. He aligns by vibration and sound. He's very, very good at it. And he has light language that's not like mine. Every person has a different light language. Every channeler channels differently. Like Daryl Anka, he will only channel Bashar and those beings that Bashar brings through him. That's it. He does not channel any other beings. He will only channel Bashar and any being that Bashar has brought to him. That's it. And Daryl Anka is a very specific channeler. He will only channel that specific energy. He's a beautiful channel, and he's been preparing humanity quite a bit for first contact. So go back and listen to any of the podcasts that he does. I highly suggest this for your own advancement, for your own understanding about who you are. You will get your activations of the Christ consciousness in your field. You will feel it. You will feel different every day you wake up because you're intending, I want to be a part of this ride. I'm going to be a part of it. You have to do the work. God is not going to take you there all by yourself. You have to do the work. If you're not going to do the work, you won't go along for the ride. You have to know that everything you are and everything you do is a part of the all. And how are you treating people? Because how you play matters. If you screwed somebody up, if you have taken their money, if you have withheld their money, if you have withheld information that's important to them, because part of that information is showing up for a court case they don't even know about, that's important information that alters their lives and can really screw them up. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? To make yourself feel good? Because you're not paying attention to you, so you might as well fuck with other people. Well, why don't you just go and pay attention to you and heal you? Because then you can be happy for people as opposed to being mean and ugly to people and making everybody else lose in their life just because you lost in your life. And that's called sociopathic narcissism. They'll never be accountable for where they are, and they'll do everything they can to make everybody around them feel as bad as they do. Because how dare anybody move forward just because you don't? If you want to be in a satanic ritualistic sex club, you can be in it. I don't want anything to do with you. You go be who you are. I'm going to go be who I am. Can you be right use of free will and non-interference? No. There has been any of these 145 people that have been involved in my life, they have been absolutely interfering on every part of my life, that my life has not been mine. It's been a fucking Truman Show. The shadow government, how and why and when did that ever get discovered, and why would it ever continue? It's up to each person to make right and redeem their own souls. There is no more time left. God has God's hand on each and every one of you. And I will get the monies back. I will have all of the fair dealings, and I will be brought back into balance, because I will carry on as a leader. I will carry on as a teacher, and I will bring the highest and the best creative, artistic, magnificent healings and creations this planet has ever seen. And I am the core seed. I am the Ark of the Covenant. I am the golden calf. And these are symbolisms, and these are analogies, and these are liturgies, and they carry truth, dear lighted ones, as Jesus did. Jesus spoke of parables. I am a parable. I am a parable within the divine feminine energy, and I carry great power of thine tongue. That was my gift and my blessing for all of the things and energies I had to work through. I've earned it. Respect thy placing, dear lighted ones, because you will be going through the same thing too. And who will you reach out to when you become homeless? The people that laughed at you and pushed their foot on your head, to push you down a little bit more while they partied on your money and went on trips with your money. These things have to come out, dear lighted ones, and the more that you withhold truth, the more that you think that you're not going to be found out, all of those people and 145 that were involved, the shadow government and the elite and the ones that you think you're untouchable, the longer that you hold off on doing right is the more damage you're doing to your path and all others. The longer that you are not bringing truth and going to the authorities and speaking of your story, the longer it will be that you will be held in karma. Everybody should be acting immediately because nobody will have your back in these court cases. The people that said they're going to pay you and look out for you, they won't. They just won't. You will be as left freely willy as I was. You will be isolated, you will be left on your own, and you will have to manage, and that is what you're meant to do anyways. So be homeless for a little while, go out and seek higher knowing and higher meaning, go out and love yourself and forgive everybody, because that is the only way to move through these gates. Codependency will never do it, your toxicity will never do it, no satanic ritualists will ever do it. You won't get through ascension in these practices, you just won't. They're entropy. We've talked about that. Everything in creation is an equation of energy. Dark is dark, neutral is neutral, light is light. It's all necessary, it's all needed. You get to choose. But you will not complain when you are impaling and you are destroying people's lives, and then you say, why do I feel so messed up? Because now it's your turn. It's your turn to sit in your karma. You don't have the right or the ability or the entitlement to go and abuse people and think that it's just a game to you. It's not a game. The hunger game is absolutely abhorrent. Anybody that plays in these practices, you have no respect for life, you have no respect for who you are, and you're going to be receiving the equal karma, no matter how long or when it's going to take up with you, and you won't ascend. Again, how important is your soul's evolution? And your teams, and there are billions of people on the other side and energies on the other side that didn't get a chance to come over through this ascension. And they're looking at it as, oh my God, if I could take that person's place. How sacred this journey is so very important that we get this. How you play matters. Everything you do affects all that is, and you won't go through the 5D gates until you learn your lessons of your 51% of divine feminine, divine masculine energy healings, of the psyche and the experiences that you've been through to bring it back into balance. Those are truths. And daily ascension pathwork is necessary. It's necessary. You're going to go through it whether you want to or not. The light will continue. And so, dear lighted ones, so go back and listen to the videos and do your drawings and do your ascension pathwork and do what's right for you, right? What's right for you is not right for everybody else. Don't pay attention, don't guide yourself, engage yourself, and compete with other people, because your temperament and pacing is different. It's not like other people's temperament and pacing. So stop comparing yourself and stop judging yourself with other people, just as you would tell your children. Right? Your children are very unique, and so are you. So go about your ascension pathwork with uniqueness. We're going to talk about the inspiration and imagination next thing. I have a couple of downloads. And then we're going to go through the brain too. I want to do another brain download, but I do have to go. I always get talking about that. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for these timelines of domination over other people and how people even think and conceive that they're. I just don't understand how people can think that they own people. I don't understand how people can be blatant in their. I don't understand it. I just don't understand that mentality. I don't understand the mentality of doing spell work and throwing such. I can never conceive of just destroying people's lives. I don't get it. And people party on that, and people have their little kicks and giggles. That's fun to you? I don't get it. But whatever. Go and do whatever you want. But you're not, as God says, nobody is going to continue touching my life and destroying it and thinking you've got a handle on me and you're going to be putting me in your little seatbelt. Because I ain't going on your fucking ride. I've been touched and I've been hurt enough. My systems have been damaged enough. Thank God for my teams. Right? Thank God that my teams know how to heal me. I wouldn't be here without my teams. Right? My darlings. Thank you for all of those beautiful, lovely people. Yeah, you're a garden. You're a garden, darling. You're a garden. I can't wait to see you. When I do get a bit of money, I'm going to come out and I take you out for dinner. Okay? We'll have some girl talk. I love you, everybody. And anybody that would like to put a donation, my focus the next little while is clearing up all my bills and getting all that at zero. And I love everybody. I love each and every one of you. Make some plans and beautiful, loving connections with yourself and Mother, Father, God, and your teams. How you're going to move about this next phase, right? Everything. You're going to learn more about your bodies. You learn more about all that you are as Source Creator. Bring spirit into everything. Bring spirit into everything. Bring spirit into everything. And just know that you're a multidimensional being and start practicing it. What do you want to see for reality? What do you want to see your 5D Earth? We love each and every one of you. PayPal.me/Joanna L. Ross. And that's for any session, any vocational alignment session, any donation. That would be wonderful. And then if there's any documents that need to come to me that are benevolent in alignment of you making right and your redemptions or whatever it is, because many people have things that are mine, documents and things like that. The TD Bank Canada Trust is what I've put down in my YouTube, so you can go to that energy. Yeah, we're gonna dance on the beach. We're gonna party, man. I love you. I love you, everybody. And this is Celeste signing out for the day. I love you. Bye. Share our videos.